A screen recording.
Hmm?
Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm still recording.
You're doing it on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so where we've got our... So this is nice. Look, she's in the middle. That feels a little harsh. This tilt up is nice, but again, you're also echoing here with these trees. The poles here.
Yeah.
So there is a visual similarity between the two.
Take out the
So
other one.
I'd go in here and lose the shot in between.
Okay.
This is just much better composed.
Yeah.
I end up saying this to all students about their movies and what have you. Think of this as a shop window. Now, shops have good and bad stuff, but they don't put the bad stuff in the window.
Okay.
Anytime you're keeping in shots which are not quite as
Yeah.
good, you're also sort of cheapening the good stuff that's there. So if you can get rid of shots that are not quite as
I have
good,
a lot of shots like that.
it's always better to have too many rather than too little. Let's go full screen, actually. Oh, nice focus, Paul. Did you do that in camera?
Yes.
You did. Well done. Again, throughout this movie, throughout your film, rather, I'm not American, you're using a lot of symmetry, and I would draw attention to that in evaluation. I'd also do some research into Stanley Kubrick and his composition.
Yeah.
Kubrick is spelled Kubrick. There's another director called Wes Anderson. Kubrick's films are very kind of dark and quite cold. Wes Anderson tends to make comedy, but he still uses this symmetrical framing, and it'd be worth taking a look at it.
Yeah. This, I might take that out.
I was going to say, one thing I hate in films is this.
Yeah.
And you see it everywhere. And one of the reasons that it's used is it's a quick way to convey information. I can't actually read what that text message says.
Exactly.
What did the message say?
The reason why I kept both in was because I was thinking, here you can't see it, but if I pop it up on the screen, but that's too much effort.
It's too much effort.
It's long, so I might just get rid of both.
What does the message say?
It says like, are you okay? And then 2 missed calls.
In the other class, we had exactly the same issue with another student.
Yeah.
And what Sonia did, have you ever watched Hollyoaks?
No.
No, I don't blame you.
No. I've heard of it. But...
Whenever they have these kind of text conversations, and they seem to do it in virtually every episode, is they just have the text come up on screen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Now, that may be an easier way. But
ask yourself, because it could go there.
Ask yourself if we really need "Are you okay?" The problem is now,
you kind of...
we need to know what the message is that she's seen, because her facial expression has changed. So we need to have some indication. I'd probably have the message come up here.
Okay, so delete the other two.
Yes. Now, if we have the message just come up here as a piece of text, "Are you okay?" Her facial expression answers the question for us. Clearly she's not. And the fact that she doesn't respond to the message answers the question.
Okay.
The other good thing here is you've now kind of established what the theme is, but we do need to know, are you okay? Okay. This focus pull is taking a while to come in. So just cut into it slightly quicker.
Okay.
Right, nice jump cut. But why have I got a blank screen?
I know you don't like this, but it's like a transition. I remember you saying don't use the custom thing.
Yeah.
Because this is the part where like her emotions are like conveyed through the colours.
Okay.
But then I don't know whether to just cut all the paint splashing out, and then at the beginning you have blank, and at the end it's full, or like in between.
Okay.
If that makes sense. But I'll get your opinion at the end. But yeah.
Rather than have a blank frame, I would fade out the previous shot and fade into this one to suggest the passing of time. A fade suggests a passing of time.
Okay.
You sped this up.
Yeah, it was too long.
No, that's fine. I remember these shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff's done nice. You need to speed these scenes up. And so basically that is going to be achieved through shortening these shots. What are we seeing here? We are seeing somebody who doesn't look particularly happy opening up a computer. A bit like the arrival of a police car in a movie, we know what this means. In other words, weirdly, these days we see a computer or a mobile phone and a young person, we immediately go unhappy. So you don't really need... I mean, it's a good shot, nicely composed, and I like the contrast of the sheet music behind it, which is a very traditional way of communicating.
Oh, is it? I mean, it's my dad's.
Yeah, I just think it's a really nice contrast.
Okay.
And it's also reflected in the table. I put this on the reflected journal, yeah. So this represents creativity. Okay. Traditionally, these were done with pen and ink, a very old-fashioned way of communicating. But what am I seeing here? I'm seeing somebody typing at a keyboard, but I can't see what she's typing.
Yeah, you'll see it in a minute, but...
You're on this shot too long.
Okay.
Now, the amount of time I've seen her typing, she should have typed more than that.
Okay.
There's the apostrophe. Again, this is a bit like watching somebody on the phone. It's kind of like,
Very prolonged.
yeah. See, that is a nice movement. It suggests insecurity, underlying aggression, and it says far more than if you had her talking loads. That's nice. So's that. That whole scene could be cut down massively. You could potentially lose about 30 seconds out of that scene and it would still say the same thing. Ah, very nice. I was wondering where that shot was going. Okay, that's great. How did you do that? I'm sure I've asked you this before.
Like a
glass.
waterproof phone case.
Oh,
thing,
okay.
Like yeah.
Now, I've seen this. And
Yeah, this part I will take out.
I quite like it because you've got to the end of the day.
I mean, the part's coming up, sorry. I remember we discussed this, it was really blurry, but I couldn't be bothered to reshoot it.
This looks okay, and again, it actually matches the composition of the opening frame.
It was just this part. It's like so blurry.
It's grainy because there's not much light in there.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of pointless.
It's a shame because it's important because you're suggesting that this is affecting her waking day and her sleeping day.
Yeah.
In other words, this is 24. I mean, a lot of people go to bed and just go to sleep like that. But with this...
It took a while, like we had to sellotape our phones to the ceiling and then we couldn't reach, we were too small. Oh, is the volume on? I don't know.
That's a nice shot. That's good. Oh, very good. I'm not surprised. And did you really not catch yourself in the mirror?
No, I never did.
You didn't.
Oh.
No, that's her.
Oh.
Or is it?
You can kind of see it.
You'll get away with it too quick.
I don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
with this shot, I would cut in maybe there.
Okay.
Because it's kind of weird because...
You see it. Like,
Well,
yeah.
again, it's a bit like, don't show us what you've already shown us, because we've seen it. So here you have this very disorientating camera with the door pretty much immediately that she's moving towards. Okay? But, so look, she's at this point, the closest thing to her is pretty much the door. But, you do this. Now, I would go in, she was pretty much about there. I'd go into the shot there.
Okay.
At this point, I know exactly what she's looking at and what she's reaching for. It's got to be the door. It can't be anything else. Is this you, or have you fixed the camera to her?
Oh, it was like when you're vlogging, it was like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was holding it.
Do we need voiceover for this? Do you need a voiceover for this?
Yeah, because I've written it.
Your poem. You gonna use a poem?
I'm not doing a poem. I forgot how to do English.
What do you mean you forgot how to do it?
It's like the last year. I don't have to do it.
What's the number?
Oh, me and B thought it was like a cool effect. You just add something cool. I don't know what it does, but. No, these are like the happy parts, I guess. But it's not really finished. I haven't edited it properly.
Okay, who's this other person? You.
Me. And I need to mute that.
We needed to see you.
Before.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because the first time I see you.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't.
I get what you mean.
I can't really tell who it is.
Yeah.
Because it could be anybody.
Yeah.
But when you introduce a person, unless you want to deliberately obscure their identity, let's see their face. So potentially you could have this shot.
You're taking your time with it. I thought you were going to be behind me.
You can tell by her interactions that she's happy to see this person.
Because I was like the person that I was messaging her, like, are you okay in a way?
Right.
Best friends. And
I didn't realise that, but then I don't know if you necessarily have to make that clear.
yeah, I didn't know how to, like, just like her, just being more happy with her friend. Like,
It's enough. You're suggesting that she has come through something.
I do get what you mean, like an introduction in a way.
What's Headspace?
I was just like this app of like breathing exercise that help you like reduce like your heart rate and stuff. But when I do the voiceover, it'll be like explained.
Because weirdly, you've almost suggested elsewhere in the film that technology, whether it be in the form of a laptop or a telephone, is negative.
Oh, okay.
Art is positive, and so also is music, because you had your sheet music in the background.
Yeah.
Now, by introducing a positive element with the phone, are you in effect breaking your own rules?
Oh, am I like contradicting myself?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up to you, because of course it's your
I
film.
get what you mean.
But up until now, you have made the audience think that technology is negative and is largely the cause of much of this character's anxiety.
Okay.
Now, obviously the voiceover would clarify that. If you sort of said, new technology needn't be something that makes you anxious or blah, blah, blah. But
yeah, it was just like in my voiceover, it was just like me showing like ways of like coping. So like here, going on the app, doing breathing exercises can help you like reduce, like meditate, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what the app does. But I don't obviously need to have it if it doesn't make sense. And that's the ending, and that's it.
That's a really nice shot to end with.
Yeah, that's
In fact, it's
And I follow the
amazing
plot.
that you managed to get that, because that's all done in one shot, isn't it?
Yeah, my friend did that yesterday.
Wow, it's really good. Nice bit of flair as well.
That's
It's good. It would benefit from being reduced.
Yes, definitely.
I think the scenes that feel slow is the scene with a computer.
Yeah.
That could certainly do with some pacing.
Yeah.
think about how you could reduce this.
Yeah. Okay.
So your camera work is really good. The only standout scene that doesn't work is the one where she's in bed because it is so grainy.
It's so grainy. So
And-
I think it's kind of.
And it's a lighting issue.
Yeah.
You won't ever fix it.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I've tried because I've had exactly the same
Yeah.
issue, and there are various plugins and apps and things like that you can buy, but it won't make any difference. The reason everything else is nice and in focus is here you've got a lot of reflective surfaces giving you light, and when you were filming outside, it was a nice sunny day. Keep doing that. What's the running time? So the running time is 5. Getting on for 5.5. I think you could certainly lose a minute out of that, and it wouldn't affect it negatively.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it would make it more positive. You've got a really good eye for composition, and you need to, if you haven't done so already, put into your visual research the use of symmetry in composition, rule of thirds. Just revisit some of that stuff we did with the workshops. It's weird because a lot of the rule of thirds, for a start, nobody really knows why the rule of thirds works. It just does. But you've done it here instinctively without realizing, because they always say where you're going to put the horizon in an image, it shouldn't be in the middle. It should be on either your bottom third or your top third.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
And when you watch movies, you'll see that. The same is true here. If you were to put grid lines over that, that's pretty much on the bottom third line, more or less. That is pretty much your kind of top line. And then where the lines intersect, you get dots, or what we call points of interest. And if you used to drop a grid over this, you would see that more or less you'll have a point of interest there on one kind of there. But also you've still got some kind of symmetry with that tree in the middle like that. Composition is definitely one of the strengths here.
Yeah.
There was a slight issue with some of the sound, because I had the sound turned down.
Yeah.
Let me just come out of your project. Now, you started doing it there. You see these kind of crossfades. You need to apply that to everything. So here, for example, they've not been applied.
Yeah.
What you need to do is right-click. Do you know how to detach audio?
Yeah.
Right-click and then do that kind of what we call a crossfade or an overlapping.
Okay.
If you haven't done so already, another thing to investigate, which improves any edit, are known as L and J cuts.
Okay. What's that?
Now, every film you've ever watched, every TV show you've ever watched, uses L or J cuts. So imagine the letter J, and then imagine the letter L. With a J cut, let me get this the right way around, the sound comes in for the shot slightly, very slightly, before you see it.
Okay.
And then with an L cut, it's the other way around.
Okay.
So the sound stays slightly longer
Yeah.
when you go into it. But what this means is you don't get chop, new bit of sound, chop, new bit of sound. What you get is the sound from the previous shot comes underneath the next one.
Okay.
Sometimes called a sound bridge. So if you have a character, say, screaming in fear, and then in the next scene we're cutting to police officers waiting, the scream will continue under the shot to come in to the next one.
Yeah, I get that.
And if you do that to some of these, you don't have to do it to all of them, but you'll know when you need to put in an L or a J cut. Often it's the beginnings or starts of new scenes. So here, for example, you've actually already done it. Is that an L or a J? L. That's an L. So here you've already got an L cut in that the sound continues after the image is no longer there. So we've got the image of the ambulance. The image of the ambulance is gone, but we still have the sound. So that is an L cut. So there you go. That's the bottom of your L. What you could do here with this is if we have a kind of natural sounds underneath, that could kind of...
Like of nature.
Yeah, that could then come in. So what you have here is you could have the ambulance, and then you would bring in the sound of your woodland.
Okay.
You got a freesounds.org account.
Yeah.
have a look for something called either a wild track or woodland ambience.
Okay.
And then just put it underneath all of this.
Yeah.
Sound is always the last thing you do, because if you chop out a whole load of shots, there's no point spending hours trying to fix the sound on them.
Okay.
But your sound will be the thing that really sells the edit.
So it's like jump start, like it's really like abrupt.
Yes, you will lose a lot of that abruptness through L&J cuts and actually fade-ins and fades out of sound.
Okay.
Sound is 50% of the movie. It's a cliche, but it is true. When sound is done well, nobody notices, but when it's done badly, everybody will point it out. To be a sound person in film is often a bit of a thankless task, because everybody is so sort of focused on the visuals. When it comes to your voiceover, voiceovers can sometimes, a lot of directors hate them, because they say that it's the sign of a bad filmmaker, in that your visuals should have told the story.
Okay.
If you have to bring in a voiceover, it's because it wasn't clear enough through how you were telling your story. However, there are some directors, Martin Scorsese is another one, who did Taxi Driver, which is very famous for its voiceover, who say it gives you an access to a character's state of mind far more deeply than visuals do. So do a bit of research into people's views on voiceover. I mean, there is no definitive answer. If you want to use one, use one. But what I would say to you is don't over-explain. So the visuals are telling the story. You don't need to say, I don't know, whatever her name is, was feeling really bad today. It's kind of like,
I can show
have you got
you.
So we're looking for things like perspective. See, there's your, that's why the non-focus works there, and that's in focus. You're gonna have to take a load of terrible shots to find some good.
I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. So B told me to do it in like statements, because I was like, I already recorded myself speaking, but it was 4 minutes. Like I just went at it like in paragraph, but she told me to do like little statements and not include everything. And record it in Final Cut Pro instead of doing it on my phone. She told me how to do it. But it's more like a speech, like in a way, like narrating it, if that makes sense.
when you record it, take your time. Because the pacing of your film is quite slow paced. So you don't want to have a really kind of like urgent voiceover. Also, I would try and reduce that and try and break it down a bit more. Good thing is about a voiceover, once you've recorded it, if it's recorded well and slowly enough, you can cut out the bits you don't want. But as I say, do bear in mind what I said, that some film directors say, well, if you have to use a voiceover, you failed, whereas others say, no, a voiceover can give you psychological access to a character that just their day-to-day actions wouldn't. Also, it can give an extra dimension to what is not on screen. So with your voiceover, ask yourself, what can I put into the voiceover that isn't immediately obvious from what we're seeing? So, you know, what is it you want to achieve with this? Where you're quite kind of exploring the idea of mental health and things like that. What additional things could you put into the voiceover that the visuals are not showing? You've got a good main character who is expressive without being over the top. And so therefore, you don't want to kind of cheapen the visuals by having a very obvious voiceover.
I mean, the voiceover doesn't match or link the shots anyway. It's like completely separate, but just, it's like two different things in a way. I don't know how to
See if they will work.
I will do what you said, like cut the clips and everything. I'll save that so I have it completed without a voiceover, and then obviously I can try.
See, the thing is, you got strong visuals, so if the voiceover doesn't work, we don't use it. But it's nice to be able to have that option. Invariably, I just want to make sure I was not going to go to sleep while we're still recording. I'll be honest with you, often at this point in the year we get lots of students who want to do a voiceover
Yeah.
because the visuals haven't worked.
Okay.
So you kind of, they've made a horror film, you watch the horror film and you go, oh, what's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on? And the voiceover has to clarify this.
Okay.
A famous example of a voiceover in cinema was for a film called Blade Runner. Now, Blade Runner's been released in, last count, about 4 or 5 different versions. When they first showed the film to audiences in America, they didn't understand it. They didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So they recorded a voiceover. Years later, people said, why have we got a voiceover? It's pretty obvious what's going on.
Oh, okay.
So now most versions that people watch of the film, the voiceover has been taken out. So when you're recording your own voiceover, ask yourself, is it necessary?
Yeah.
Am I over-explaining? And am I actually just cheapening my visuals?
Yeah, it's more of like a narration, like of my past experience, just to like, but I'm kind of like portraying it, not fully, but through her. Yeah.
When they teach script writing and writing to writers for film, they say, does somebody have to say it, or can you show it?
Yeah.
If you can show it, it's always much better.
Okay.
So think about your visuals and think, for example, where she does that motion with her hands after she's been typing, you don't really need to explain that.
Yeah.
Anybody, irrespective of cultural background or language, will understand that gesture.
Yeah.
The same is true of a smile or a sad look in the eyes.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain stuff like that. And that's what I would do. I would be mindful of that when recording the voiceover.
Okay.
But it's a good piece of work which will benefit from being cut down. But because the visuals are strong, you're in a much better position than, say, not having enough and using voiceover to try and fix bad visuals or bad sound, which is often how it is used.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lay yourself open to that accusation that, it didn't make sense if I put a voiceover in.
Okay.
I don't really think you need one.
What,
But
like
try
just
it.
background music, like, or
Just the natural sounds.
like just silent? Because the majority of the clips are like silenced,
Make 2 versions
Okay.
and show people.
and then see what they. Okay.
I had a film play recently, and there was a sequence in it in which 2 people speak French. Now, when it played at this festival, they had not included the subtitles.
Oh, okay.
So it played up on screen.
Yeah.
Nobody
No
knew
one
what these
could-
people
yeah.
were saying because there's no French subtitles
Yeah.
in the version they showed. And afterwards, people said to me that they preferred it because it was more sinister, not knowing what these people were talking about.
That's true, actually.
And think about that with your own voiceover. Do I need it? What effect does it have on the audience? And if it's not really affecting them further,
Yeah.
I don't think you do need it.
Okay.
But you are in a fortunate position that you've got time to experiment with this.
Yeah.
And this will also give you much more material to write about in both reflective journal and evaluation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so
That's all
much.
right. No, you're very welcome.
Thank you.